Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven, and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some entitled parent stories, and our first story of the day is by Ava1405, entitled Mother Tries to Steal My Brand New Phone. Backstory. For Christmas, I got the new iPhone 12 and I just got my case. It's a blue plaid case. My only phone I had was the 6S Plus, and it was passed down to me from my mom, so this was my first new phone. I was really protective over it. This happened last Saturday, and I haven't had time to write it down. So my best friend and I were going to the mall. Her mom had to run a few errands, so she decided to tag along and be our driver since neither of us wanted to drive. We decided to go to Starbucks first and grab some refreshers, and we were joking about how basic we were being and having a fun time. Anyway, so as I was paying for my phone, I hear some random screech, and I ignore it because I just thought some kid was mad or something. As my best friend and I were waiting, showing things on our phone to each other, mainly memes, a kid approached us. The entitled kid says, "Can I play some games on your phone?" I say, "Sorry buddy, but not today." "But my mommy said I could." I say, "I really can't, I'm sorry." Our drinks and 2 cake pops got called, so we grabbed them and sat down. We were having a fun time when I see a lady madly approaching us. "Why didn't you let my kid use your phone?" I say, because I don't feel comfortable giving out my phone to strangers, especially during this time of COVID. My phone was sitting on the table, so I put my hand over it in case she tried to grab it. Best friend says, "Lady, please leave us alone, we're just trying to enjoy our Saturday." Entitled mother freaking reaches for my phone, but with her long butt nails trying to dig into my freaking hand. I make a loud painful noise. Best friend, like a boss, slaps the lady. The entitled mother says, "This lady assaulted me and stole my phone. Help, help." There was already a few people around her. Mall security was near because there's an Apple store about 50 feet away. Store employee says, "What happened here?" The entitled mother says, "This witch took my phone and her friend assaulted me." Best friend says, "That's to what happened." Points to my hand, there was a little blood. Mall security comes and takes my phone. I say, that's my phone." The mall security says, "Yes, I already know that, but let's double check." The mall security holds the phone in front of the entitled mother's face, and it doesn't unlock. Holds the phone in front of my face, and wow, it unlocks, and there are messages from my parents. "She hacked it. She hacked my phone." I say, "No, I didn't. Calm the heck down." After a small dispute, entitled mother is escorted out and Starbucks gave us each $50 gift cards and free cake pops. The bleed was like a bad paper cut, but everybody was fine. In the end, I had a really good time at the mall. If an entitled mother tried to snatch up your phone and, in extension, clawed your hand enough to where you were bleeding from it, would you be willing to press charges and go all through that process? Or would you be willing to let it go once the entitled mother was proven that it's not their phone and they have to leave? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Dashing Madison. Karen secretly films me jogging and shows video to my boss. I recently had an emergency appendectomy and recovery has been slow. I had to take time off from my own athletics, but worse, from coaching in the kids' sports program I'm involved with. The experience made me step back and realize I really built my whole identity around being active and healthy. So the hit my physical abilities took as a result of being sick in the healing process has made me feel lost. I've been working again to regain the joy I used to experience from exercise without going, "Oh, you used to be so much faster than that," or "Your technique used to be so much stronger," or "You don't fit in anymore," or whatever else, and just enjoy myself regardless of the level I'm at. But ironically, the anxiety about not being able to do what I used to has made regaining those abilities difficult. It made me self-conscious about exercising in public spaces, but I was starting to finally get over it as friends convinced me the source of the concerns were all in my head. There's no way to get back to it other than training. So despite the anxiety, I started running again, as soon as the doctors approved it. I went to the local track and just did a few slow laps each morning, building up speed every few days, and I've only just been authorized to add some sprints and bodyweight strength training to the mix. Occasionally there were other people at the track, but I didn't really notice because I run with headphones on and try to zone out in these lighter sessions. But little did I know my friends were wrong. It was not all in my head. I was being watched, and more than that, I was being judged. My absolute catastrophe level worst nightmare at this stage of building back my strength and speed. On Friday, I was setting up for a practice at the kids program, and the head coach asked me into his office because a parent had a complaint. A parent I didn't know too well, Karen, was there, and he said she had a specific complaint about me. The meeting almost didn't happen because of Karen's initial refusal to put a mask on, required in our facilities for now, but eventually her desire to tell on me for whatever she thought she had me on overrode her freedoms to infect everyone. I was a bit nervous, as anyone is being called to meet with their boss over a complaint, but I figured it was a classic case of, my kid should start more, or, I know my kid tried out as a midfielder, but I want him or her to switch to defense. That kind of, the rules don't apply to me thing. But instead, I sit down in the office and Karen is playing my boss a video of me running on the track that she filmed from afar. It's surrounded by stadium-style risers. I was horrified, both because no one is ever totally used to seeing themselves on video, and because I was just embarrassed about how slow I was. But most importantly because why was a virtual stranger, I'd met her personally maybe 4 times ever, filming me while I ran on my own time at a private facility? She then went on to explain that her 8-year-old son, one of the players on my squad, was lapping me in the video and insisting the coaches need to hold themselves to higher athletic standards than the young players if they want to prepare them for college teams. Again, her son is 8. Apparently, her son would sometimes be running on the track while her older child was practicing on a nearby field. I never noticed, the kid is still relatively new, and I don't pay much attention to other people on the track. My boss patiently but firmly explained to Karen that my physical abilities are not the parents' concern, and all personnel are closely managed by the head coaches, who understand each unique situation and what's appropriate, and that her son wouldn't be impacted. Karen then went on to say my being out of shape was probably connected to why I'd been taking so much time off lately. Technically yes, it is because I was in the hospital, and complaining that the personnel changeover isn't good for the kids. My boss again reiterated that the head coaches hadn't changed or taken any time off, and that I was still one of the most skilled in the area I instruct, so this was not her concern. She asked if there was someone else she could speak to, but he explained that he was the owner and founder of this program, so no, there was not. I knew my boss was intentionally avoiding saying what happened to me, or even alluding to a health issue, to protect my privacy, but I figured maybe being transparent with her would show her how ridiculous she was being, and keep her tuition dollars in our program during a difficult time for sports clubs. But when I explained, she just turned to the boss and said, "Well, maybe you should furlough her until she's healed and bring on a healthy coach in the meantime, because my son needs someone out there who can keep up with him." My boss respected what I was trying to do, but made clear we weren't going further with that strategy to avoid setting a precedent of sharing coaches' personal circumstances. Telling her why people take time off or what their health status may be is not of her concern, because the program manages that and makes appropriate decisions. She kept kicking up a fuss, but the coach finally told her he had to get back out on the field, back to her son and everyone else's kids. She started physically leaving, but continued fussing about how she was not satisfied and would not be recommending us to other parents. Pro tip, not the way to conduct yourself with the people who make recommendations to scouts concerning family culture and team interaction. The coach wasn't preparing to leave. Instead, he stopped her in her tracks to tell her if she was found to be surveying or otherwise harassing any staff members again, she would be permabanned from the program. No games or practices, no team social events, no presence in our buildings, and no clemency. So that was pretty satisfying. Her son is a good, average kid, and I'm glad the consequences were focused on booting her out rather than limiting his opportunities to have fun playing. So then we went out and had a great, happy, safe practice. This was still a pretty upsetting event for me personally though, and I'll never unsee that discouraging video of me running, but it was ultimately reassuring to know the other staff have my back. Leaving Karen in the dust is just another step on my road to recovery. So in this Karen's logic, Because Michael Jordan nowadays probably wouldn't be able to keep up with the most athletic high schoolers, they shouldn't be able to coach them. A coach has to be physically faster or stronger or bigger or athletically beyond anybody that they're coaching, or if they're young they have to be. You don't see weightlifting coaches being these massive behemoths. Just about everything that this Karen did was absolutely wrong. Our next story is by Erie the Cat Girl, entitled Mother Falsely Accused Me of Stealing a Pokemon Card from Her Daughter. This happened years ago, but I randomly remembered it today and realized that this story belongs here. When I was a kid, I was super into the Pokemon trading card game. I went to this comic book store on Friday nights to play with other people. When I was 13, I pulled a Mega Charizard YEX card out of a pack and I really wanted to make a deck with it. A card I needed though was Charizard EX, since you would need to play that card first before the other one. There was a 10-year-old girl there willing to trade me hers. She wanted my Black Kyurem EX card. That wasn't exactly a fair trade on her end, so I let her pick out another card. She picked out a Dragonite card. The owner of the store was very familiar with the values of cards, so we took the trade to him so he could verify that it was fair. He said everything looked good, so we made the trade. Fast forward a week, I have a new deck that I'm excited to try out. Almost immediately when I get into the store, a woman comes up to me and demands that I give her the card back. I was so confused at first since I had no idea who she was. She was like, "You scammed my daughter and stole her card, give it back." I was still confused until I saw the girl I traded the week before. The girl kept saying, "Give me back my Charizard," over and over. The woman then said to me, "Shame on you for scamming a little girl, give the card back now." I was always a well-behaved kid. I believed that adults were always right and didn't question their authority. This was an exception. 13-year-old me was not about to tear my brand new deck apart just to return the card I fairly traded for. I told the lady that I gave her daughter 2 cards equal the value to the 1 card she gave me. The woman asked her daughter, "Did she give you 2 cards?" The girl replied, "Yes, but I lost the second card." The woman turned to me and continued to demand that I give the card back. I finally said, "Miss, I made a fair trade with your daughter, so I'm not going to give it back. If your kid lost one of the cards, that's not my fault." This made the lady super pissed, so she started yelling at me about how much of a piece of crap I was. This freaked me out because getting yelled at by an adult when you're a kid isn't fun. My dad stepped in since he noticed the woman was screaming at me. The lady started complaining to my dad about how he failed as a parent for raising a thief. I explained my side of the story to my dad, and he believed that I was right. Finally, we found the owner of the store. The owner remembered the trade from the week before. He ended up taking my side and he told the lady to stop harassing me or else he was going to kick her and her daughter out. The lady finally backed down, but she gave me dirty looks for the rest of the night. I never saw the woman or her daughter there again after that night. I was going to say that I was going to feel bad for the daughter because of the mom trying to just get all entitled and ruin the experience for her, but then she starts complaining about how she lost one of the cards and how she wants the Charizard back. If you make a trade, you need to learn to deal with it and accept the outcome. This hopefully was a learning lesson for her. And our final story of the day is by Nabzarella, entitled Aunt Steals the Attention from Her Siblings' Weddings by Getting Pregnant. So this happened before I was born, so this is entirely hearsay, but I 100% believe it knowing her. My dad's side of the family has always been toxic in so many ways, including my dad himself, whom I made a post about on r/insane parents. About the time he intentionally left my 6-year-old sister at the Grand Canyon back in the 90s. So yeah, not the most rational group of people. My aunt, entitled Aunt, ended up with 3 children, all very close in age. Now I know why. My parents decided to get married in 1990, at which point entitled Aunt suddenly fell pregnant. Okay, it happens, no big deal. Except, upon my parents' wedding day, entitled Aunt was in the hospital ready to give birth. Their wedding tape consisted of multiple family members only fixating on entitled Aunt's pregnancy, including my grandmother, my dad's own mother, never mind the wedding that was currently taking place. If that's where it ended, I wouldn't be writing this. A year after this, my uncle got engaged to a lovely woman. Let's call her Simone. Simone adored my uncle, but she hated his side of the family, often referring to them as a toxic cult, only to my mother who hated them too. When my uncle revealed when they planned to get married, in about 10 months' time, Entitled Aunt spoke up and was like, "I'll probably be giving birth at that time." My uncle pointed out, "You're not even pregnant." She boasted, "But I will be." He brushed her off. But of course, she ran out and got pregnant. Timed it just right so that she will be very close to bursting by the time the wedding came around. Simone noped the freak out of it. Knowing how my father's wedding became all about Entitled Aunt's pregnancy, Simone convinced my uncle to postpone the wedding. He agreed, and it was done. Entitled Aunt got all pissy that Simone was overreacting, as she just wanted her baby's birth to be extra special, but Sim was firm about her decision. She just wanted her wedding day to be about their union and nothing else. Unfortunately, their relationship fell apart not long after that, and their wedding never happened. Maybe they would have gotten divorced early, but my immediate family believes that if Entitled Aunt didn't ruin the initial wedding plan with her obsessive attention grabbing, they might still be together today. So where does Entitled Aunt's third child come in then? Well, it was to compete with me. My mother got pregnant with me around November 1992. It was announced to the family a few months later. Entitled Aunt got to work and got pregnant as soon as possible after hearing the news. It took a little while this time, but she did it. Both me and my cousin were born in 1993. Luckily, this didn't really interfere with anything this time. The most she did with this was to pit us against each other because we were in the same school year. Who had the higher VCE score, etc. Just as she had done with my older sister and her eldest daughter 2 years prior. This isn't even mentioning the time Entitled Aunt took my mother's car while she was still in the hospital hemorrhaging during the pregnancy of my older sister, and she refused to give it back. My mother was in rough shape, she was already thin as a stick, and my sister would not stop kicking her while in the womb, causing my mother to just bleed out. She looked and felt like death, as there wasn't a whole lot the medical staff could do other than use sedatives to calm the baby. Entitled Aunt came in to see her, only for a few minutes, acted all sympathetic about her situation, until she asked about needing her car. "You're in the hospital, you don't need it." My mother was pretty out of it, but she's convinced she didn't even agree. Entitled Aunt took the keys and left. My mother didn't hear from her again for weeks. My dad had to go and fetch the car from her because she wouldn't willingly give it back even after my mother got discharged from the hospital. "Can't you just buy another one?" My mother has hated her ever since. Yeah, I don't speak to these people often. I mean, honestly, her alone is enough to just cut that entire section of the family off. Especially if she has them all biased to what she claims and what she says. Forget even trying to make it work. I wouldn't try. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.